Welcome, comic collecting chums, to another episode of Sidebar. This one's a bit different because here's the thing, I'm not actually here. I'm currently, well, when this goes live on YouTube, I'll be hopefully sunning myself on a small island off the north coast of Africa. True fact. So this video is made up of bits and pieces I pre-recorded before I went away, because I know that the chances are wherever I am right now, as you watch this, I'll have pretty crappy internet and I won't be able to do a video. So bits and pieces contained within. So I recently had a go at Whatnot again. This time it was a UK-based seller, someone I've been watching on Instagram called A Up Comics, and they look to have some pretty good stuff. Obviously, time-wise, it worked out for me being in the UK. They did a sale on a Sunday morning, I think it was, which was quite cool, and I was able to pick up some goodies that I needed. The first of those, and the main one I was there for, believe it or not, was Devil Dinosaur issue 8. Quite a nice copy. The reason I picked this up is because I've got issues 1 to 7. So quite simply just tagging that on at the end. And that is a very nice copy indeed. While I was at it, I took advantage of some other bits and pieces they had. Pretty reasonable prices. I picked up some Ghost Rider, issue 26. And they are sort of, it's a bit of a fragmented run, this. This was really just grabbing some, and someone else was buying quite a lot of the issues of Ghost Rider that they had as well. So it was like, that's fine. Happy to pick up a bunch of these. 27 is a great cover. I like that. I also got 32. You had your chance, boy, but you blew it. The Bounty Hunter. All got crazy covers, these Ghost Rider books. They're awesome. Issue 36. Issue 39. That one's really quite cool. Into the Abyss. Suicide Squad, like it. So there were quite a few other copies of Ghost Rider. Some were pent copies. And as I say, another buyer was desperate to get some of these, so there was no need for me to kind of fight for them or overpay for them. They were all reasonably priced. While I was at it, I also picked up this Tomb of Dracula 43. It's not one I was familiar with. I've got a few copies of Tomb of Dracula. This one with the Bernie Wrightson cover, of course. And it was funny, so it cost a bit more than the other books that I bought. But when I got it, I sort of looked at it and thought, because now they were very sort of keen to point out this does have a sort of label pull on the cover there, so it wasn't as expensive as it might have been. As I say, Bernie Wrightson cover. Tomb of Dracula, it's awesome, it's cool, but of course I'm a Gene Colan fan, so I was like, ooh, Bernie Wrightson covers. Bernie Wrightson, it's Tomb of Dracula, why not? Now I've got it, I'm kind of like, it's not Gene Colan. It should be Gene Colan. It's kind of funny that, isn't it? Stunning cover, of course. It's really cool. I don't think something about it. I don't know if it's the inks or something. I don't think it's the best Wrightson cover, but it's very cool. And like I say, not too expensive. So they were pretty good pickups. A Up Comics, I'll put a link in the description if I can, or I'll put their moniker on the screen here so you can have a look at it. The guy running the thing was really great. None of this car salesman nonsense or casino style setup. It was just, here's the books, here's the description of what's going on. You kind of know what they're like. Everything was listed in the shop first, so you could go through and have a look, which I really like. I like knowing that there's going to be stuff there I can bid for or pick up. As soon as the auction was done, stuff was in the mail. Arrived really quickly. So thumbs up for A Up Comics. Well done, sir. Well done. So, in previous episodes, I've not really got into doing lists of things. It's not because I don't like lists. I love lists. I like to be organized. I like processes. Lists are very much a part of that. And someone mentioned to me recently, said it's kind of hard to know what you actually look for when you're looking for comics because it seems to be a bit all over the place. There is a system. There are things I want. There are things that I'm really into the Atlas comics at the moment. That's going to continue. I've been picking up quite a lot of those. But there's kind of a bucket of stuff there. There's not like a particular run I'm looking to complete. So it can be a case of browsing through stuff, seeing what appeals to me and prices and grades and stuff like that. And, it might be just be, right, I've seen one I absolutely have to have. I'm going to get that. Or I'm going to add something to my list and browse for it occasionally. It's the same with filling in the Bronze Age Marvel stuff I've got, or some of the runs I've got going, the partial Avengers run, and some other titles. But there is a list. There is a list. There's a great many things I want. If I was going to say, here's a list of top 10 things, they're not goals for this year. I can, wait for them and see and pick them up. I'll run through them. So the top one, which I've mentioned in a recent Sidebar episode, is Wings comic issue 52. So if kind of Grail-like, I'm absolutely determined I must have that in my collection at some point because it's Gene Colan's first professional work in comics. So that's one I will keep an eye out for pretty much constantly. To see if I can get the right copy at the right price. Finding a copy at all at the moment is proving quite difficult. So that's probably number one. Another big one is Howard the Duck, issue 1. I've got issues 2 to 8 and a few more after that. Howard the Duck number 1 is unusual in that I want something, I think at least probably about 7.5 or more, and a raw copy. Now, having looked around, this is it's achievable. It's not that expensive to get a one in a good quality, high grade. It might even be the case that it's one where I can pick it up on a slab and take it out of the slab. I think it's a book that I should have out of a slab. It just feels like that kind of book. So there's that one. Captain America 101. Again, not sort of difficult to find or pick up. I just haven't done it, or the right copy at the right price hasn't sort of come up for me. The reason for that is I've got issue 100 and I've got issues 102 to 110. Now, they're not in particularly high grade. Some of them are quite low, actually. But there's a bit going on there, so that would be a nice gap to fill. Where Monsters Dwell, issue 33. Why? Because it's a train cover. It's one of the best train covers, and maybe one of the first ones that made me think, look at the train, look at the train. And it's a subway train. Now, train covers is not just a cover with a train on it. Has to be something dynamic about it. That's definitely one. It's awesome. But it seems to be, I've either not found it available from a US or North American seller where I can fill out another larger item order, fill out the postage with it, or the ones I've seen in the UK, I think are overpriced for a comic that's into the 30s in that series. I wouldn't expect to be paying some of the prices that are being asked here. Another train cover, Lois Lane 137. That's fantastic. What a train cover that is. Go and look. I'll have a picture up on the screen. That is definitely on the want list. I think if I get that one and Where Monsters Dwell 33, along with the Creatures on the Loose issue I've got, not sure, I must have another one somewhere, but that'll be at least 3 solid train action covers. I don't even like trains that much, but there we go. Next on the list, 2 issues of Marvel 2-in-1. issue 64, which is The Thing and Stingray, who, in my opinion, has the best superhero costume, bar none. And issue 65 with his inhuman chum, Triton. The reason for that is I've got issue 66, The Scarlet Witch, and 64, 65, and 66 make up the three-part Serpent Crown Affair story. This is one from when I was a kid. I picked these up. I don't know if they came out at the time I was collecting the comics. And part of it was possibly one of the first multi-part stories I read in US comics I was picking up when they came out. Or I really just liked the story. I can't quite remember. But I really want it. I want those 3 issues back. And I've picked up a lot of other issues of Marvel 2-in-1. Way back, I had quite a lot, and it would have been a good candidate for getting a full run. But when it came time to sort of sell off a lot of stuff, early 90s, maybe getting on towards the 2000s, some point in the 90s, I parted with all of them. Kind of wish I hadn't, but maybe a lot of them were pence copies, and I made that decision to go cents. So I don't know if I'll ever go back to trying to get a full run of Marvel 2-in-1, but I do seem to be so fond of it that, if on Whatnot or filling out postage on a bigger order from the States or something, if there's issues of Marvel 2-in-1 in there, I'll likely bag a few, and I have. But those issues in particular, really important. And another 3-part story, I think it was, The Defenders issue 71 to 73, which is part of the Tunnel World saga. And it's proper, I seem to recall, it's proper Dungeons and Dragons style stuff, where Doctor Strange, Namor, and the Hulk, I think, disguise themselves and go off to this other realm. And it's probably bollocks. I'm sure when I get it, I'll read it and go, why the hell did I like this? But I really want to see it. And The Defenders was another one of those series that really had a lot of Defenders comics. I think from round about somewhere around issue 30, 40, I had a complete run through to 152. I think it finished at. It was maybe a wee bit higher than that. But it felt like, again, might have been a pence copy thing that made me part with them. Or maybe someone made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I can't remember. But I got rid of all of them. Because I felt that getting the first 30 or 40 issues, whatever it was going to be out of my reach, too expensive. This is one of those things where if somebody said, here's a whole run or a run of 1 to 50, which would be pretty expensive, not in the league of Spider-Man or anything like that, but still expensive, I'd be tempted. I'd be tempted. So I'll have to be careful with that one. But definitely issues 71 to 73, I need to pick them up. But sometimes you'll see the odd issue, but or you'll see a lot more issues, but just trying to get 71 to 73, it's kind of tricky. But that's why. It's a bit of a mad list. There's not anything hugely expensive on there. Howard the Duck's probably the most expensive thing, or the Wings comic, depending on the grade it's in. But in terms of wants, don't get me wrong, on the CLZ app, I have a wish list like this. And it's really just things I've seen where I'm like, well, that looks interesting, or that'd be nice, or someone said, oh, you need to read this. So I'll kind of add them to the list. But yeah, if I was going out tomorrow with a list going, right, these are the ones I really want to get, they'd be up there. There's about 10 there. I could probably find another 10 that I want just as much, but I think that'll do for now. So on reading, here's a surprise one. Now, I was going to save this for a couple of weeks, but I can't. I recently had a great chat, recorded an episode of People with Issues with the legendary Brian LCS, a stalwart of the comic community and a legend. I'll have a link to Brian's channel in the description, just in case you're not familiar with him. Why is he in the reading section? Because one of the things that came out in that episode, spoiler alert, Brian was telling me about a comic that he's actually written. I'm sure lots of people in the community already know about this. Me being a bit of a latecomer, it was kind of news to me. And it's not unusual to bump into someone and say, "Hey, I've done this, I've drawn this, I've written this. Would you have a look at it?" And you're kind of like, "Yeah, sure, I'll have a look," and with mixed results. So Brian sent me a link to two issues, the first two issues of a comic called The Doctor. Not related to Doctor Who, not that kind of Doctor. Um, and the basis of it is, if you're not familiar with it, it surrounds a guy called Mike, who's super powered, but he runs a support group for superheroes, which is just a brilliant idea. Um, and I don't think Brian would sort of take it the wrong way for me to say, when I read issue one, I was really surprised. It's really good. And it's not that I don't think Brian's capable, I didn't know him that well. And like I say, when a friend or someone says, "Oh yeah, I've done this," you're kind of like, "Oh, hope it's okay." It's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So without sort of spoiling anything, the basis of it is uh, superheroes can go to this support group, put on a medallion, and it disguises their voice and creates this, I think, like a holographic mask type thing to disguise their identity. And all the masks are sort of other superheroes. So you'll see a Batman there, Spider Man kind of thing, which is a really clever way to, cross these different publishers and characters. So it's kind of about support group, but there's kind of other stuff, other background stuff going on as well, which I won't get into too much. So I thought the art in the first issue was good. I thought it was better in the second one. And I think that Brian's considering sort of actually getting the art on the first one redone. Not that it's bad, it's kind of different. But I think in the second issue, it's I think it suits the content a lot better. So all I'm going to say is it is really good. I really enjoyed it. Both issues, and I'm kind of champing at the bit now to see the third one when it comes out. No pressure, Brian. So if you haven't seen that and you want to see that, hit up Brian directly. You can contact him on Instagram, or if you jump into his channel, you can leave a comment or email him via that. But highly recommended. Here's a piss spoiler for you. This one really grinds my gears. Issue -1. You've got these wonderful series that started in the 60s or the 70s, became very popular, went on, had big long runs. When you look at the early issues, there's a style of art, the trade dress, all the rest of it, everything we love about these old comics. 30, 40, 50 years later, some idiot decides, tell you what we'll do, we'll make an issue -1. Now, why is that annoying? Because when I go into CLZ and I go into the title, such as Daredevil, and look at the issues, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, they look the way they look. They're of the time, they're great. Right in front of them, you've got this crappy, modern, even if they've tried to draw a picture in the way that it was back in the day, no, it's wrong. Stop it. Also, what about people like me who, if I file my stuff by issue number, you know, there's just there, no, there, no, there, there. Doctor Strange, issue 1. Frank Bruner cover. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that wonderful? That should be at the front of my run of collection. Not a -1 that was done in 1997, 2006, what have you, with some shiny modern bollocks on it. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't. It just shouldn't. And, yes, I've stuck Daredevil -1 away in the box. It's in a box. And it might, I can't remember, it might be a very good comic. They might have done a really good job of the art in the front, the presentation of it, what have you. No, just it's not mine. It's not mine. It's not. No, no. So a little while ago, I picked up this World's Finest 92, and it so happened when I popped it onto a shelf, it was sitting next to this detectives comic, this 100 pager. Look at the colours. Now, again, not necessarily a similar style of cover, but the colours, something I love about these older DC books. Hopefully in this light it's been represented all right. Let me tilt it that way a wee bit. The minty green and the lemon yellow, as Dr. McGroovy described them, aren't they lovely? Aren't they gorgeous? And those solid colours, again, really something I like about DC backgrounds. That's another lovely pairing, and I think at some point I might have to do that with my gallery. If I have enough matching covers, I'll pop them up on my gallery. I think that'll be something to behold. What do you think? And that's it for this week's Sidebar episode. Now, I'm not sure when I'm recording this what I will have actually put in this week's episode. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Always like that. And until next time, stay groovy.